Next, Reuben will be talking about Peter Cataneo's new film, The Penguin Lesson, starring Steve Coogan and a penguin. The story follows an English teacher who moves to Argentina during the military dictatorship, who aims to keep his head down, but is tested when he befriends a penguin and must keep him quiet and secret. So sadly I wasn't able to see this film, but I do love penguins. I love crested penguins. That's a reference from about 10 years ago. Yes, and I'd love to hear Reuben talk about it in all its glory, even though I'm getting positive vibes coming from across the screens here, Reuben. So tell us, what did you think about this film?
Yeah, so I really liked The Penguin Lessons. I think it's a perfect little film, honestly. I think it's really, really, really special because it's simultaneously something that you can go and watch with your grandparents and have a nice little cup of tea and a biscuit at your local picture house. But then it's also a brilliant, brilliant look at what it means to be a person who exists in a society which has problems, which is going wrong, because this is actually an incredibly political film. It's set during the Argentinian military junta, the military dictatorship, and a little bit like the brilliant Brazilian film that we reviewed at the start of the year, I'm Still Here. This is a film about disappearances, because in the 1970s, the military coup which occurred resulted in all of the political opponents of the military junta being taken in either the dead of night or broad daylight and never seen again. So it's based on a memoir by the real Thomas Michel, and I thought it was brilliant in the way that it blends those kind of two aspects, because it simultaneously is a lovely film, sort of Dead Poet Society style, about this grieving teacher. He's a bit uptight, he doesn't really enjoy his life, he doesn't enjoy his work, he's not interested, he just doesn't care. And it's about a man who goes to teach in a school, and through the experience of working there and meeting a penguin, everything changes and he rediscovers his soul, he rediscovers who he is and his identity in a way that I thought was really, really beautiful. The fact that it can be a story about a man who finds a penguin that's been caught in an oil slick and has been washed up on the beach, and only saves it because he wants to impress the woman he's hoping to take back to his hotel room. The fact that it is able to then balance this story about a literal penguin out of water at a school with this teacher, and it be a bit of a comedy, while also talking about this unbelievably horrendous and tragic sequence of events where many, many tens of thousands of people were abducted and tortured and murdered by the military dictatorship. I think the fact that it balances those things is so impressive. And this film is so funny. I laughed out loud. I was one of 3 people in the screening all the way through. There is a hilarious sequence where Steve Coogan has got this penguin. He doesn't want it. He's had to take it back to Argentina. He's smuggled it through customs. He doesn't know what to do with it, so he's trying to give it to the local zoo. But the local zoo don't want it. And so his strategy is he just keeps phoning them up and mafia style threatening to assassinate the penguin if they don't take it. And it's so funny because he's just there phoning them up saying, "Yes, hello, it's me, the Penguin Man. If you don't take him on Monday, he's dead. Phone down." It's brilliant. It's so funny. And Steve Coogan is such a brilliantly talented performer because he's able to nail the comedy. He's so funny, but he's also able to completely make you feel, oh, this is a broken man, this is a hurting man. It's brilliant, it's beautiful. It made me feel happy and elated and in love with these characters. The penguin, Juan Salvador the penguin, I love him. I want a penguin, although they smell very bad. It's a lovely story. It's like Dead Poet Society meets Turner and Hooch. And that's a great combination because both of those films are brilliant. I just think it's phenomenally great. And through the course of the film, the penguin essentially serves as a way for him to process his grief and also process his position as someone living in Argentina, even though he's not from the country, and what his role is, therefore, in the country's political stakes. And it really spoke to me because of that. Because there is a brilliant line where one of the cleaning staff, who is a 19-year-old woman, she says that she's fine with terrible people, doing bad things. But what she hates is when good people do nothing. And I think that we are all aware of the fact that there are issues in society that we oppose and that we are vehemently against. And yet it's scary to speak out. It's scary to do something about that. And so it's interesting for that then to be put on screen in the context of this absolutely, appalling series of abductions and murders, and to see the way in which everybody, because they have to look out for themselves, is silenced. So I thought it had so much to say. It's a story about power. It's a story about the silencing of a nation. But it's also about a man falling in love with a penguin, discovering what it means to be a teacher and to change lives and to educate the next generation and the importance of that. It's all of these things, and it manages to do it all while being sweet, funny, lovely. It's so good. I had a little cry. Honestly, I loved it. It's a great film. I don't have a pun. Finn.
Well, that's great to hear that you're so emphatic about it, my friend. However, I have seen a bit of the discourse that it is a little muted, the response to this film. Is it from animal rights people talking about, well, you shouldn't really have a penguin as a pet? Or is there something about the film that doesn't quite resonate with audiences? Can you see the faults behind your quite positive reaction to it yourself?
Yes, so I think that there absolutely is an argument to be made that it's a bit twee and at times a little bit sentimental. But I like those films, and I think that if you're someone who likes Turner and Hooch or Dead Poets Society, therefore you will also like this film. Because at its heart, it's a story that I think everybody can relate to, because it's about being a person and overcoming the obstacles that you have in your life. Be that grief and depression and loneliness, a job that you hate, struggling to find your political voice, or just the connection that you can have with an animal that changes your life. And I think that a cynic might say, well, it's all just a bit hollow and it's trying to balance this big political message with a nice story about a penguin. But I think the way that it does that is really nicely achieved. I think it's really wonderfully done. I think that the light and shade is balanced wonderfully. And I think that so much of that comes from Steve Coogan, who I think he's one of Britain's best actors. I think he's extraordinary. He's always, always brilliant. And the fact that he can play, characters that we love and characters that we hate and real world monsters, he's just so talented. And this film, I think, allows him to play with all of those aspects, because at times you don't like him and at times he does bad things. There is a phenomenal scene in this film in which one of his newfound friends is abducted. She becomes one of Los Desaparecidos, and he stands there and he does nothing. And you watch it and you think, well, I would probably do that too. And that's incredibly powerful, I think. That's incredibly, incredibly powerful. It speaks to the human experience, I think, in a way that is not to be underestimated. And it does it all while making you go, oh, penguins are cute. They're so cute. So I loved it. And honestly, Juan Salvador the penguin, I just love him. I love him. And it finishes with some lovely Super 8 as well of the real Juan Salvador, which is just such a lovely little treat. So honestly, I would really recommend that you go and catch the Penguin Lessons, Jake. You've got to ignore the haters because it's incredibly lovely.